In August 1980, the routine of two farm workers in Dixon, California, was shattered by a gruesome discovery. As they navigated through the dense cornfield, they stumbled upon the lifeless body of a young woman. She had been shot multiple times in the head and neck, and it was clear she had been subjected to a violent and brutal assault. The workers immediately alerted the authorities, who arrived swiftly to begin their investigation. The victim was quickly determined to be a young white female, but there were no immediate clues to her identity. She had no identification, and there were no personal belongings that could provide a hint about who she was. The investigators noted the signs of a struggle. Her clothes were intact, but showed evidence of a violent confrontation. Forensic examination revealed she had been assaulted before being fatally shot at close range, indicating a personal and violent attack. Without any leads or identification, the authorities labeled her Jane Doe. The Solano County Sheriff's Office took charge of the investigation, but progress was painstakingly slow. Extensive media coverage and public appeals for information yielded no useful leads. The local community was canvassed, residents were interviewed, and missing persons reports from surrounding areas were meticulously checked, but nothing matched the young woman's profile. It was as if she had appeared from nowhere and met a tragic end in the cornfield. Years passed with no breakthroughs. In 1992, a significant development occurred when the National Missing Persons Unit reached out to the Solano County Coroner's Office. They had a potential match for Jane Doe from their extensive database. The missing person in question was Holly Ann Campiglia from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, who had been reported missing nearly 12 years earlier. The details aligned, and DNA analysis confirmed the match. Holly was 21 years old at the time of her death. She had traveled from New Jersey to California, but the reasons behind her journey and the events leading to her untimely demise remained unclear. Despite this breakthrough, the case remained unsolved, and the person responsible for Holly's death was still at large. Holly Ann Campiglia was born on May 12, 1959, in Cherry Hill, Bergen County, New Jersey. She was the daughter of Augustine A. Campiglia and Sally Avery Campiglia. Holly grew up in a close-knit family with 4 sisters, Daryl Ann, Dawn, Jonna, and Karen. Described as a vibrant and adventurous young woman, Holly's decision to travel to California was characteristic of her free-spirited nature. The 1980s initial investigation into Holly's case had yielded little actionable evidence, and by the time her identity was confirmed, a significant amount of time had passed. Leads had gone cold, and the trail of the killer had vanished into the decades. Moreover, the forensic techniques available in the 1980s and early 1990s were rudimentary compared to modern standards, and the evidence collected from the crime scene had not provided any immediate breakthroughs. Deputy Jose Joe Cisneros was the original investigator assigned to Holly Ann Campiglia's case. He worked diligently to uncover the details surrounding her tragic death and remained committed to finding justice for her and her family. Unfortunately, Deputy Cisneros was killed in the line of duty in 1985, 5 years after Holly's body was discovered. Despite his untimely death, his early efforts and dedication to the case laid the groundwork for future investigations. The case of Holly Ann Campiglia's slaying became one of many cold cases that haunted the Solano County Sheriff's Office. The authorities did not give up, but each passing year made it increasingly difficult to uncover new evidence or locate witnesses who might remember something crucial. The original investigators had either retired or moved on, and new detectives inherited the daunting task of solving a seemingly unsolvable crime. In 2021, a ray of hope emerged. Holly's family, still grieving and seeking justice, requested a re-examination of the evidence using modern forensic technology. This re-examination was a crucial turning point in the case. Advances in DNA analysis had revolutionized forensic science, making it possible to detect and analyze genetic material that would have been undetectable in the past. An evidence technician meticulously reviewed the original evidence, searching for any traces of DNA that could be tested with the new technology. After months of painstaking work, the technician found a sample of male DNA. This discovery was a significant breakthrough. The DNA was submitted to a national database, and the results came back with a match. Herman Lee Hobbs, a convicted felon already serving life sentences for other violent crimes. With the DNA evidence conclusively linking Herman Lee Hobbs to the slaying of Holly Ann Campiglia, the Solano County Sheriff's Office prepared to bring him to justice. Detectives worked meticulously to build a solid case against Hobbs, ensuring that the decades-old crime would finally see a courtroom. Hobbs, already serving life sentences for other violent crimes, was not a stranger to the judicial system. His criminal history included a series of heinous acts, most notably the 1975 slaying of 13-year-old Terry Pata. Pata had been abducted, assaulted, and slain, her body found stuffed in a drain pipe. The conviction for Pata's slaying had come years later, in 2005, thanks to advancements in DNA technology. Hobbs was also convicted for the assault of a 15-year-old girl in 2000, which had further solidified his status as a dangerous and violent offender. In late 2021, after the DNA evidence from Holly's case pointed to Hobbs, detectives obtained a warrant to collect a new DNA sample from him. This sample confirmed the match to the evidence found at the crime scene in 1980, providing irrefutable proof of his involvement in Holly's slaying. With this crucial piece of evidence, Hobbs was formally charged with first-degree slaying, including an enhancement for the use of a firearm. He was transferred from state prison to Solano County Jail to face these new charges. The pretrial phase was crucial for establishing the foundation of the case. Preliminary hearings were held to determine if the evidence was sufficient to proceed to trial. Both sides prepared meticulously for the trial. The prosecution focused on compiling a comprehensive case that highlighted the forensic evidence and the consistent pattern of Hobbs's past crimes. Meanwhile, the defense scrutinized the evidence, looking for weaknesses and possible alternate explanations for the DNA match. The trial featured emotional testimonies from Holly's family, who recounted their memories and the impact of her loss. Forensic experts provided technical details about the evidence, while detectives discussed the investigation and the process that led to Hobbs's arrest. After days of deliberation, the jury returned a guilty verdict on July 15, 2024. Herman Lee Hobbs was found guilty of the slaying of Holly Ann Campiglia. The judge sentenced him to 15 years to life in prison, to be served consecutively with his existing sentences. The conviction brought a measure of closure to Holly's family, who had fought tirelessly for justice over the years. They expressed relief and a sense of peace, although they acknowledged that nothing could bring Holly back. The Solano County Sheriff's Office, along with other Northern California law enforcement agencies, began to re-examine cold cases that showed similarities to Holly's slaying and other crimes committed by Hobbs. They focused particularly on cases involving young female victims who had been assaulted and slain, especially those that had remained unsolved for decades. One such case was the slaying of Brenda Ann Tucker, a 29-year-old woman who went missing in 1994. Her remains were discovered in 2001, and although Hobbs had been charged with the crime, the charges were ultimately dismissed due to insufficient evidence. With advancements in forensic technologies and the experience gained from solving Holly's case, investigators hope to revisit these cold cases and find the necessary evidence to bring further charges against Hobbs. The resolution of Holly's case served as a powerful example of the enduring quest for justice and the impact of determined, persistent investigation efforts. Alisa Susan Williams was born on August 10, 1981, and lived with her mother, Denise Frazier Daniel, in Cincinnati, Ohio. She was just 8 months old when her life took a tragic turn. On April 29, 1982, Alisa was abducted by her legal father, Isaiah Williams, during a violent altercation at Denise's residence, Isaiah Williams had a complex relationship with Denise and Alisa. He was not Alisa's biological father, as Alisa was conceived while Isaiah was in prison. Despite this, after his release, he resumed his relationship with Denise and legally recognized Alisa as his daughter. On that fateful day in April 1982, Isaiah forcefully took Alisa from Denise, leaving her desperate and fearful for her daughter's safety. He then transported Alisa to Ann Arbor, Michigan, marking the beginning of a harrowing journey that would span decades. The abduction was initially dismissed by law enforcement as a custody dispute, which significantly hampered the initial investigation. In the weeks following the abduction, Isaiah was seen with Alisa in Michigan. On July 4, 1982, they attended a family reunion in Inkster, Michigan. Witnesses, including Isaiah's brother, reported that Alisa appeared to be in good health during this gathering. However, this would be the last time anyone outside Isaiah's immediate circle saw her alive. As the summer progressed, Isaiah's erratic behavior and contradictory statements raised suspicions. He took Alisa to his ex-wife's home, where she too noted the baby seemed fine. But just days later, Alisa was nowhere to be found. On July 9th, Isaiah was served with a summons ordering him to produce Alisa in court. By July 10th, Alisa had disappeared. Isaiah's explanations for Alisa's disappearance varied wildly. He initially claimed to have last seen her in June 1982, which contradicted witness statements. He later admitted to smoking marijuana and drinking alcohol while with Alisa at Island Park, a 35-acre space in the middle of the Huron River. He claimed he fell asleep, and when he awoke, Alisa was gone. He did not report her missing immediately, allegedly believing Denise or one of her family members had taken her. The inconsistency of Isaiah's accounts and the lack of immediate police action meant valuable time and evidence were lost. Despite extensive searches of the Huron River and surrounding areas, no trace of Alisa was found. The case went cold, leaving Denise in a state of perpetual agony, clinging to the hope of finding her daughter. Following decades of stalled progress, the case of Alisa Williams was reignited in 2021 when new interviews and investigative efforts by the Ann Arbor Police Department shed fresh light on the long cold case. In October 2021, the Ann Arbor Police referred the case to the Michigan Attorney General's office, leading to a pivotal breakthrough. Isaiah Williams was finally arrested and charged with one count of open murder. This charge allowed the prosecution to pursue different theories of the crime, given the ambiguity surrounding Alisa's disappearance and presumed death. The renewed investigation focused on the inconsistencies in Isaiah's stories and his history of domestic violence. These factors painted a grim picture of what likely transpired during the summer of 1982. Key witnesses, including family members who last saw Alisa at the family reunion in July 1982, provided testimony that contradicted Isaiah's claim of losing Alisa in June of that year. Throughout the investigation, Isaiah's behavior and statements remained erratic. He had previously told Denise multiple conflicting stories about Alisa's fate, including claims that she was alive and well in another location, had died in a hospital, or had been killed. These conflicting narratives were central to building a case against him, highlighting his attempts to obfuscate the truth and evade responsibility. The trial of Isaiah Williams commenced in early 2024. Prosecutors presented evidence of his inconsistent statements, history of violence, and the impossibility of his claims regarding Alisa's disappearance. The defense argued that there was no concrete evidence proving Alisa's death, given that her body was never found. However, the prosecution emphasized the legal concept of corpus delicti, which allows for a conviction based on circumstantial evidence when a body is not recovered, especially in cases involving violent crimes and contradictory accounts from the accused. On May 10, 2024, after weeks of testimony and deliberation, the jury found Isaiah Williams guilty of felony murder and first-degree premeditated murder. The verdict was a significant moment for Denise and Alisa's extended family, who had endured decades of uncertainty and pain. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel lauded the efforts of law enforcement and prosecutors, acknowledging their unwavering commitment to seeking justice for Alisa. Isaiah Williams is scheduled to be sentenced on July 10, 2024. He faces a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole, bringing some measure of closure to a case that has haunted Alisa's family for over 40 years. If you find this video compelling, show your support by giving it a thumbs up, subscribing to our channel, and ringing that notification bell. By doing so, you'll stay updated about the latest investigations and mysteries. Your support means the world to us as we continue to pursue the truth in the world of cold cases.